I don't know how in the world it keeps happening, but it seems like there's more and more recruiting news every day.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. And I'll tell you about LinkedIn if I can ever get this lifesaver out of my throat. I'll tell you about them later. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day. Nothing more professional than starting out with a lifesaver ruining your cold open.
It was a good live read for Lifesaver.
It was. Anyway,
Not
Jimmy, lots of good recruiting information still coming out from Tuscaloosa. Got a big commitment in London Simmons. We talked about Alex Asperoff, the punter that committed on Friday. We did all that in an episode last night. So if you hadn't seen it, you may want to catch up on those two. Because today we're going to focus more on really, I think, some receivers. First of all, it should be noted that Quincy Porter out of New Jersey committed to Ohio State. Now, why is that important? Alabama was looking at him. I don't know exactly how serious things were between the two. I think they were, it's complicated status on Facebook to make it easier for everybody. But in the end, he committed to Ohio State, and more power to him. They do a great job getting wide receivers every single year, so I don't know why this would be any different. But Travis Smith from the Atlanta area was in Tuscaloosa this past weekend. Alabama is certainly very high on him. And today, Kalik Lockett is on campus from Texas, a guy that kind of close to Kalen Russell. And so that's got to be somewhat helpful. But, just talk about these two receivers, Jimmy, Travis Smith, and Lockett. And I guess not that it's your choice and not that we have any say in the matter, but which one do you prefer?
Lockett. Lockett's a five-star. We don't know as much about Lockett, to be honest, because Alabama was recruiting him and wasn't really getting much off the ground. And then Kalen Russell committed to Alabama. And now Kalik Lockett became very interested. This is basically what I would call a Kalen Russell recruit that I think Alabama's only solidly in this picture because of Kalen. And let's see how he likes it, because, a lot of wide receivers come to Alabama and they dig it. Based on Alabama's recent success in the NFL draft, based on the fact that there's so many good quarterbacks present and in the pipeline, it's a popular spot for receivers. We'll see. We're having to make up ground. He's a Texas kid, of course, be close to Kalen Russell. Arrives on campus Monday. Today, as we record this, he'll officially visit Monday and Tuesday. I think Alabama's got a shot here, but this is a kid currently rated 5 stars. 6'1", 175, just a good all-around wide receiver, recruited by pretty much everyone. Travis Smith was in this weekend from Atlanta. Alabama's fighting Georgia for him. I'm not really sure that he would choose Alabama over Georgia. But apparently the visit went really well this weekend. He's a highly rated receiver, not quite as high as Kalik Lockett. A little bit more. Lockett's more of a burner. Travis, maybe a little more of a possession guy, but kind of a possession guy extraordinaire. When I watched his tape last week and I commented on BOL about this, that he would be really good around the end zone, because Travis Smith has good size and great hands. This is a guy that's not going to be dropping balls. He can catch contested balls because of his great hands. He would be a big pickup. There's no doubt to that. I think overall, talking about receivers, though, Luke, we have to start with this. There are 12 receivers on scholarship at Alabama right now. It's a pretty healthy, big number, 12. None of them are out of eligibility. Theoretically, all 12 could return. Now, a couple of them might have the opportunity to go pro. Jeremy Bernard, Kobe Prentice, Kendrick Law, they're all draft eligible. Also, none of the 3, as we speak, are highly projected draft picks. The point is, I know that wide receiver is a fun spot for fans in recruiting. It's kind of one of the sexier spots, that you recruit now, and we have such a great wide receiver history. But when you have 12 on scholarship and none are leaving, None are leaving. How many can you take? Plus, you already have Lotsier Brooks committed. And I know Lotsier Brooks isn't a 5-star top 100 guy in the On3 industry rating yet. But Lotsier Brooks is fantastic. He is one of the best players committed to Alabama in this class. Anybody that doesn't believe me, just go to Huddle and watch the tape. You will love him. He is. So you've already got one. I think even taking 3 stretch, in this cycle. And there's a lot of receivers interested in Alabama. Like Luke pointed out, we're in on Quincy Porter, and he committed to Ohio State. I think Alabama will probably top 2, top 3 for him. And who knows, down the road in the portal, if you might have scored some points, it might help you in the portal one day when it comes to virtually anybody you're recruiting. But my projection, Luke, is that Alabama only signs 2 receivers. Hey, and if I'm wrong by 1 spot. They're certainly not taking more than 3 in this group. And you've already got Lotsier Brooks. This upcoming weekend, Caleb Cunningham is coming from Mississippi, high priority player. Derek Meadows may be an Alabama lean. Got to beat Notre Dame for him. But Derek Meadows from Bishop Gorman out in Las Vegas, great prospect, 6'6". How about Caleb Odom, but faster? I mean, that's what Derek Meadows is. So Alabama's in good shape for several receivers. Again, Travis Smith this past weekend, Kalik Lockett, 5-star from Saxe High School in Texas. He arrives today. So a lot of big stuff happening at the wide receiver position, even though Alabama's probably only signing 2 or 3 guys at that spot.
Okay, what 2 would you like to sign? If there's a Jimmy, you get to pick the 2.
Well, I'm not sure how realistic Kalik Lockett is. I'm not sure how realistic, so I'm not going to count him because we won't really know. I think stay tuned. For after the official visit in terms of where we might stand with him. But as we speak and record right now, I think my dream group would actually be Lotsier Brooks and Derek Meadows. I think they'd be a great combo because Derek is 6'6" with a wide catch radius and is going to convert third downs like a madman, and Lotsier Brooks is your playmaker. So I think they're a great duo, and those are the 2 I would be excited about. But hey, I'm not going to turn away a 5-star like Kalik Lockett. Travis Smith's a good player too. There's no doubt. I mean, Travis Smith is Caleb Cunningham's he's a 5-star type talent. I mean, to me, Caleb Cunningham's who is that guy from Mississippi? I mean, he's a little about AJ Brown. As a comp for him. I mean, I think that's how talented that kid is. So, you can't turn him away. The thing about Caleb Cunningham, we'll talk about him all week because his official visits this weekend, he seems to be enamored with a new school every week. It was kind of like me in high school with, hot celebrities. I had a new one every week that I liked. I think Caleb Cunningham almost commits to every school he visits. He gets excited about these trips, and who could blame him? And he's excited about Alabama, and he's going to love that visit too. And that's this coming weekend, and that's going to be his last visit.
That's the one thing that would scare me about him, even if he were to give a commitment to whomever, Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, where else? He's visited somewhere else.
Auburn. He likes Auburn.
I know, but there was another place that he visited recently.
Tennessee, Florida, maybe Tennessee or Florida.
Could have been. But I thought it was somewhere even, may have been. Anyway, I'm thinking wherever he commits, if he commits early, you will not feel safe about that. Because if somebody gets him out on campus, I mean, they could swing him pretty quickly. Yeah. I would think.
He speaks in glowing terms pretty much about every visit. I mean, and that's great.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm glad he's having a good time. And I get it. But I think Alabama's in a good position for him. But again, my guess today, if we're doing like a class guess, I'm going to go Lotsier Brooks and Derek Meadows. But there could be a third receiver. Don't rule out Caleb. Don't rule out Travis Smith. Kalik Lockett could be making a run here. And I think other receivers could be on the visit list this upcoming weekend. We'll go over that, in the rest of the shows this week.
All right. I'm going to tell you about LinkedIn. And when we come back, we're going to talk about one Jalen Mbakwe. Of course, I'm going to tell you about LinkedIn, though. We love LinkedIn here at Locked On Bama. And when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. You don't have to believe me. You can just listen to the stats. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. You know that. But, in a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're not looking in the right place. That's the bottom line. And on LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. You need to hire professionals like a professional. And the only place to do that is on LinkedIn, because they know that you wear a lot of hats and you don't have a lot of time to deal with all the nonsense. So LinkedIn cut all that out for you. Look, post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they're going to apply. So Jalen Mbakwe, maybe one of those 5-star plus guys. I mean, he was a 5-star on every service. Some people thought he was the second best player in the country. Some people thought he was the 21st best player in the country, but everybody thought he was somewhere around in that number. And it's really, here's the thing about him. I think most of it is just he's such an incredible athlete that they're like, I don't know if he's a receiver, defensive back, and I think that's where Alabama will have him as defensive back, obviously. Or, he's not going to be a quarterback, but could he, run with the ball some in certain situations? He obviously did that and led his team to a state championship pretty well. But he's so incredibly athletic. I think everybody was thinking we have no choice but to make him a 5-star no matter where he ends up and what he ends up doing.
I love Jalen Mbakwe. He is one of the best kids on the team. He's a Gump. For a 5-star, this is a 5-star Gump. He recruits like Ryan Williams for Alabama. He loves it there and had a good spring. Played cornerback this spring. I think he'll stick at corner. But like Luke pointed out, he's a guy that can play any of the DB spots. He can play Husky, he can play safety. He could play offense. He would be very good on offense. I think not only could he play offense, Luke, he could be a wide receiver or a running back. This is a extraordinarily talented football playing athlete. But corner, I think is his spot. He was there this spring. He did well. I think even though he may not start at corner, my projection today would be the 2 transfers or the likely starters at corner, Damani Jackson from USC and Deshaun Jones from Wake. I think those are the 2 likely starters. They will be backed by the freshmen. But I think Jalen is so good that even though he's a 2, or even potentially a 3, but more like a second team reserve player, I think he's just too good not to play. I think, you're just not going to sit this guy. He's just too talented. He's certainly going to help Alabama on special teams. This will be a 5-star, excited to be part of special teams packages. He can play a big role in special teams. And let me tell you, I wouldn't be shocked at all if midway through the season he's ready to be a starting corner in this league.
Well, let me ask you this, Jimmy. Why is he such a Gump? Because he is. And I'm use that in the most loving way. I mean, we're Gumps. I mean, I don't, you got to start embracing that. I mean, that's just what. So why is he so enamored with Alabama? And again, the easy answer is, well, he's from Alabama and he loves Alabama, and here we go. But he does take it to a different level, which is so appreciated by me. He and Ryan Williams together are really just like 2 human billboards for Tuscaloosa. I mean, they are. And I'm just wondering, what is the impetus for that? Because
I'll guess too, just guessing, hometown pride, just kind of hometown. I mean, I know he's not from Tuscaloosa, but I mean, anybody from Alabama that wears Alabama on their chest is a hometown player. I think that's a big part of it. Secondly, I think, he's really good friends with Ryan. And when you have a close friend and you share that commonality with them, I think it really comes out almost, it is literally a brotherhood to him, because it is his brother like Ryan that's on the team with him. I think it's just the combination of being really tight with other guys in the same organization and being the hometown school. And I tell you, guys like Mbakwe and Ryan Williams make you want to sign a bunch of in-state guys.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe it means just a little more to them. And Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see. And Jalen is one heck of a player. I mean, this is a guy he's going to be a good player at Alabama. The only variable is time. Will he be a great player for Alabama in 2024, or will it be 2025, or will it be 2026? I don't know that. I just know this. He's going to be great. He's just too athletic. One thing that's shocking to me about him, he's a winner. As Luke pointed out, he won the 7A state championship. And even though he played on a really, really good team, it really was the Jalen Mbakwe show. I mean, he's the one out there making all the plays and leading the team to 7A wins over big time opponents every week. But for a guy who runs like he does, and he is legit 4.4 fast. I mean, this is a legit 4.4 guy. He's not small. There's some thickness to him. That's why I said he could even get away with playing running back. I mean, this guy's not 165 pounds running like that. I mean, he's my guess is, Luke, I mean, this is going to be a guy that I'm not sure what he weighs or what we list him at right now, but just looking at the kid, I think he's leaving Alabama at least 195. I mean, that's how thick this is.
And I don't ask that. Some people are probably like, why would you even ask that? It's so dumb. But I mean, it seems so obvious that if you are at a school that if you try to be a rah-rah representative of that school, it behooves you in a lot of ways, in the sense that it, endears you to the fans, especially now. How big a deal is that when you are Mr. Alabama or Mr. LSU or Mr. Ohio State? How much more important that is for branding and your own NIL and whatever. Maybe it's just their personalities. Maybe it's this generation, or maybe it's this new group that Alabama is kind of recruiting. Now, I know Mbakwe and Williams were both going to be a part of the class regardless. But, I guess when you think about Jonathan Allen, there's no doubt in my mind Jonathan Allen loves the University of Alabama. But he also looks at Alabama like some people would look at going to military school. Like, that made me into the person I am today, and I will never, ever forget that. And I appreciate that so very much, versus, God, I had such an awesome time there. I loved every minute of it. I'll cherish every second, like being in a fraternity. You know what I mean? It's just,
it's different.
It's overall change of the culture that is just wild. And I wonder if it would have changed like that a little bit, even if Saban had stuck around with two guys like this coming in, because how many pure, bona fide fanboy, gumpish players did Alabama have under Saban? I mean,
I do think the culture is going to change slightly under deBoer. I mean, that's the early read, and I think players like Ryan Williams and Jalen Mbakwe are maybe at the front of that, and these are kids that would have committed to Saban and been the same person. But I think under Kalen DeBoer, I think the fun is being a little more emphasized, which is sort of ironic because when other teams recruited against Nick Saban, they would try to convince players in terms of negative recruiting Alabama. They would tell players that you're not going to have any fun at Alabama, that Alabama is literally like you're already working a job. You could lose your job and be cut. If you're not starting, they'll cut you. That's what kids were told that it stands for. They say they prepare you for the NFL at Alabama. They do. It's called the No Fun League over there. They don't have any fun. It's just football around the clock, no parties, no girls, no times for anything like that, because it's football around the clock, and you'll go over there and you'll be on this football team, but you won't have any fun. And college is supposed to be about fun. That's what kids were told, and it didn't work well, by the way, but that's what kids were told. Well, here's DeBoer shows up, and that argument against Alabama is out the window because these kids are having fun. But it also doesn't go too far. At Clemson, they have fun, and it looks like a 365-day pizza party maybe, and maybe they don't take the football seriously enough. I think there's a balance, and I think DeBoer's one-loss record speaks for itself in terms of the balance, because you're always looking for that balance. I think Clemson does, by the way. I want to take a shot at them.
I know what you mean.
They do a good job of
But they do have pizza parties.
They do have pizza parties and the water slide. I mean, this is a water slide in the football building. I think Clemson wants that as their program, that we have fun. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do think that the perfect balance is like what Clemson's got and a little of what Saban had. Because what Saban did with it was about business. So the kids that were all about business, they were attracted to Alabama. And guess who ends up being the most successful players more often than not? The kids that do care nothing about, I'm not going to college to have fun. I'm going to college to learn how to be the best football player I can possibly be and then have an NFL career. Those kids were attracted to the very negative recruiting that people were using against Alabama. Like, all they care about is football? All I care about is football.
Yeah.
And then those kids ended up in Tuscaloosa now. But now it's going to be a little different. You can tell because of watching Mbakwe and Ryan Williams on social media that they're having a good time.
Boy, you want to talk about good times, then you want to talk about FanDuel. Summertime means baseball, the NBA finals. It also means college football recruiting, but you can't bet on that on FanDuel. You can bet on just about everything else you want to. It's awesome at FanDuel. Go check it out. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the ballpark this afternoon. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a big win added to your summer bucket list so you can go spend that money from FanDuel. I'm telling you, visit FanDuel.com and you will love it. It's America's #1 sportsbook. So the next guy on our list is Danny Lewis. That is a name that feels like that would be the name of the neighbor who is sort of a friend / nemesis of the dad on Full House. Like, here comes Danny Lewis again, going to show me up, that'd be Bob Saget's character. But Danny Lewis is, it's a very pretty standard name. You go from Jalen Mbakwe to Danny Lewis. That's kind of weird. But Danny Lewis is a dude. Now, I'm a big fan. But just like you, we've already talked about tight ends in this podcast, right? And we think there may be too many on already because how are you going to get the ball to, you said 12 receivers. Then you got at least 4 tight ends?
Six on scholarship.
6 tight ends on scholarship. But I'm saying 4 in the –
4 will play.
Could get legitimate rotation.
Totally true. 4.
So here's where I think Danny Lewis, and I know we're talking about him on the countdown today, but here's my thought. Danny Lewis on the countdown today, I think you have him ranked appropriately at number 50? Okay, he's right at 50. Okay. I think next year he's either in the top 30 or he's not on it at all.
I get it. I get what you're saying, but It does make sense. Now, luckily for him, in terms of why I think he'll be back or why he should come back is, yes, he is probably the 4th tight end, but 2 are seniors. And if he comes back next year, not only is he now in the top 2, he's an experienced older kid in the top 2 if he comes back to Alabama. So I would be optimistic that he's going to do that. But as Luke pointed out, look, you got C.J. Dupree, that he's going to be later in the countdown. Robbie Oost, he's coming up fairly soon, but he's later in the countdown. Josh Cuevas is up there, the newcomer from Washington, will probably be the leading receiver in the tight end group. So he's going to have to be up there. So that's why we have Danny Lewis at 4th. But here's where the rankings have taken a turn, and that is we finally reached a guy here at 50 who's going to play with the first team. As Luke pointed out, Danny Lewis will play first team snaps. Is he going to play a ton of them? Probably not, because he's got the 3 guys ahead of him, but he'll play some. He started a game a year ago. He started the season opener against Middle Tennessee. So the last staff liked him. This staff likes him. A big-bodied guy who's probably a little more gifted as a receiver than Dupree or Oost. He's just not quite the blocker they are yet. But the thing that I like most about Danny Lewis, Luke, is here's a big-bodied tight end who is actually a more than adequate pass receiver. He can do both pretty well, particularly as he gets older and matures. And a little bit of an irony to talking about Danny Lewis today, a second official visitor on campus today is Caleb Edwards, a tight end from California, and he'll give you some Daniel Lewis vibes. He's a real similar prospect to Daniel Lewis in terms of size and skill set coming out of high school. But Daniel Lewis is our first player in the rankings at number 50 who will play with the first team. Also shows how deep the team is in terms of, hey, are all 50 guys going to play with the first team? Not consistently, but everyone ranked from this point forward is either a guy playing with the first team or a solid 2 that you will see every week in garbage time.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And that's the other thing. If Daniel Lewis is at 50 and Mbakwe at 51, everybody should, the further we get down this countdown, everybody should feel really, really good about where this team is. I'm feeling more and more certain that we will, at the very least, make the playoffs. And I think at this point that with the new college football landscape, that's what you ask for is give me a shot to get in there. It becomes the new NCAA tournament. If we lose at home to Georgia, that'd suck. If we lose on the road to Tennessee again, that'd suck. But in the end, if you make the playoffs, all that stuff doesn't matter anymore.
And hard to, well, for Alabama fans, they'll find a way, but it's going to be hard to complain about seasons that end in the playoff.
Yeah.
And there'll be a randomness to the playoff. Those will be tough games to win. And again, what I would point out, I'm sure this will make some Alabama fans upset, but hey, the format is so tough. There are past Alabama national championship teams that might not have won the national championship if they had to win their way through a playoff like this, just because it's very difficult. Like I say all the time, what Michigan accomplished last year, beating Alabama and then Washington, they deserve that national title. What if they had to play Georgia the next week? And would they have beaten Georgia the next week? That's what the new playoff champion's going to have to do, because they're going to have to win 3 games. Winning 2 was hard. Winning 3 minimum, sometimes 4 if you have to play in those first round games. So it's just going to be really, really difficult, and some really good teams will not make it all the way through that playoff. But like Luke said, I think making the playoff is a heck of an achievement, and I do like Luke. Right now, my prediction for the season will be that Alabama does make the playoff.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.